So what?
Survival!
Peer pressure.
This is pressure on you from others to share in what they're doing. This can be good or bad depending on what it is. The good side of it is that it can encourage you to try harder at things or to try new experiences which you'll enjoy. Being with your friends and trying new things is part of growing up. It can be a friendly and supportive way to gain knowledge. But be aware that people in a group act differently than they would if they were on their own. When people come together, a group personality can take over which everyone gets caught up in. This is a really great experience if what you're doing is fun. It can be really good for you all to share in this feeling that everyone has created. It brings you all closer together. But there's also a downside. Firstly, groups make decisions differently on how a single person does. For instance, someone can suggest something for a laugh, then, rather than thinking it through rationally, everyone gets caught up in the emotion of it and pushes each other on. Next, either because a member of the group has a dominant personality or wants to show off, they make moves to do the thing. If it's something not allowed, it can be a buzz for everyone to be part of it, and, as it's done as a group, each can feel they're not personally responsible. Secondly, individuals have their personal set of rules of what's right and wrong. A group also has one, but this is either much less defined and fluid, or is the right and wrong rules of the most dominant members of the group. Third, if the group wants to do something that happens to be against the personal wishes of an individual member, it can be extremely hard for that person to refuse to go up against the group's wishes. In doing so, they risk being put down and compromising their friendships and the support of the group. Also of being kicked out of the group and possibly becoming a target for it. The courage it takes to stand up against your group, even over something small, should not be underestimated. So it can be less stressful for people to join in with stuff they don't really agree with. Common negative peer pressure stuff. Joining in with any sort of bullying, messing about at or bunking off school, stealing stuff, tagging and smashing things up, mugging people and other crimes, fighting and gang fights, carrying a weapon, your views on sex, having sex before you're ready and having sex when you don't want to, trying drugs, drinking too much, what you wear and how you talk, your attitude to life. Peer pressure happens in the adult world as well. A person who works for a company and has a wife and kids to support will feel very pressurised if their boss tells them to do something which they don't agree with. They then have the choice to do it or refuse and maybe get sacked and lose their home. In any group activity, there's always the possibility of negative peer pressure. This can be especially true for religious groups if their rules are very strict. Times you're most likely to give in to negative peer pressure. When you're drunk or stoned, when you're feeling insecure or unsure about something, when you want to please certain people or get them to think differently about you, when you don't respect or value yourself, when you don't know or have been lied to about the consequences of doing something, when you're feeling lonely, when you're frustrated with your life and looking for some answer, when you're feeling down or depressed. The thing to remember with peer pressure is that people will often push you to do stuff not because it's good for you, but because of something they want, and they will use manipulation methods to get you to do it. Also, they're less worried if it turns out bad for you rather than them. So don't feel bad about not fitting in with stupid stuff that could cause you grief. Just remember that whenever you're in a group that's buzzing with emotion, to keep your brain switched on. Reality happens no matter what you're feeling. Being a teenager is a time of change. You'll find yourself in situations that you won't be sure of. Don't automatically trust those who appear to be more experienced, mature, and seem to know what they're talking about. They might not be. Also, what works for them may not work for you. If you go along with stuff that you don't agree with, it will eat away at your self-respect. You may also lose the respect of others for not standing up for yourself. If any friend tries to push you to do stuff that can come back on you, then they're not a real friend. Remember that you make the choices for yourself. It's your right to choose. Respecting yourself is more important than the respect of others. Don't let negative peer pressure steal your individuality. We're all influenced by other people. Just make sure that it's for something you want.
This podcast is one of the 187 subjects covered in So What? Teen Survival, an ebook downloadable from Amazon.